I'm having hallucinations this morning and I'm rather confused. I thought I was being woken up in my bed upstairs and being brought down here by that chap, my carer. He brought me down here and he said, "I've got your lunch, where do you want to have it? In bed or up at the table?" I remember saying, "I'd like to have it in bed." After a few minutes I realised that I was still in my own room, that I hadn't in fact moved at all, but we definitely took a journey here. We definitely had gone downstairs. I remember the movement, so have I moved? Have I been pushed out again? I was told that my needs were greater than could be dealt with downstairs, my medical needs. But this doesn't help with the hallucinations. It's real, but it's not really there. It's what I try to keep telling myself. When I have these dreams, they very often relate to travel, moving somewhere, going somewhere, fetching something. I don't know why. I miss going shopping. Simple things. Being able to move. I never reacted too badly to the diagnosis when it first came along. I just regarded it as a nuisance. Other people don't understand it, how it slows down the thinking process. And it has slowed down my thinking. Days seem shorter for me now. Time passes and I don't know if I'm awake. Am I definitely in the right room? Am I in bed? Well, how would I have got back into bed then? Should I just lie here then? Is that what I should do? Am I on the floor? Did I fall down a hole? I think this has been a minor hallucination, a very small one. It's happened before. The doctor knows about it, and the neurologist knows about it too, you see. If you know where you are, you should be able to determine whether you're awake or asleep. Now, this is starting up now. I'm not knowing if I'm awake or asleep. I'm not worried. Or I try not to be worried. You see, the trouble is with this medication, the trouble is that you dream a lot. You dream vivid dreams. They're dreams about going somewhere, moving or doing something, usually related to my previous activity before going to sleep. I think that's what happens when you cross over from consciousness into sleep. Those last thoughts follow you and you dream vivid dreams. I'm fighting fatigue 24/7. When you have to fight this fatigue, it doesn't go away when you sleep, because when you sleep you wake up and the rest hasn't done you any good. The fatigue still remains, so there are no more good days. If you do manage to get some sleep or you're unconscious, it gets no better. I think it would be better now if I were asleep all the time. I'm really tired all the time now, and I can't handle the radio either. I'm not strong enough, it's too heavy, and I just don't have the dexterity, and there aren't any staff to help me tune it. Nobody helps me. It's no good now. All I can do is sleep. I had another hallucination I didn't mention. I thought there was a staircase leading down from this room into a basement. 2 flights of stairs leading down from the corners of the room into a basement. A staircase going under where they've put the table. I didn't know if I was awake or asleep. I didn't know where I was. I decided I must be here because I recognized the flooring and the line of the door and so on. I knew I was here, but I didn't remember the steps leading to the basement, and I wanted to get up out of this chair and go outside, but I couldn't get up out of the chair. I don't think there was any real danger of me falling down the steps, even though they are steep, because I was too far from them, and there are what appear to be banisters. I think if you look in the corner, you can see a shadow left by the banister. That's what I saw. I know there are no stairs. I think the trouble is that I've been made to sit in this chair day after day. I'm made to be sitting it so much that with nothing to occupy my mind that I drop off to sleep and I drift in and out of consciousness. It's like torture. I think for some reason that this chair is conducive to the inputting of hallucinations. The noise is present in all my environments for the last 2 years, so I'm accustomed to noise that would disturb other people, shouting and cries and so on. But what I don't like is that the call bell itself is so unreliable. I can ring the bell for hours and nobody comes. I'm not sure it works. I'm sure they would have come if they'd heard it, wouldn't they? Maybe they wouldn't come, but I mean, they don't. Maybe they don't know I'm still here. Maybe we should. Maybe we should give them the benefit of the doubt. And they might think I'm already dead. When I first went to the GP, he wouldn't do anything because he said he had to wait for a letter from the hospital, and it was never typed. They lost the file, so there was a hiatus there. And when we did eventually get a letter, he waited too long. Too long. He took steps eventually. He made a phone call, then wrote to the neurologist, and it delayed the appointment with the neurologist for 6 months or more, by which time I was struggling. I used to visit the clinic for eye drops, and one day one of the nurses saw me. She said, "Oh, John, you don't look too hot today. Are you feeling all right?" And I told her, I don't feel too good now. And she said that she could arrange for me to have a bit of extra help for a time, just over Christmas. I said, "Well, yes, please." And off I toddled for a week or two, and I never came out. I never went back to my own home again. Now that was 5 or 6 years ago in the autumn of 1966. People were reluctant to tell me what would happen to me. When they came here, they were less than frank. They continue to be less than frank. They've had plenty of opportunity to be frank, and they avail themselves of it. I reserve my criticisms for the seniors. The carers have a job to do, and for the most part they do it well enough. My criticisms are for the managers who make money by putting too few carers on the wards. I think I deserve better than I get. All these people are what I'd call economical with information. My life has always been a bit out of reach. There are 2 episodes I can tell you today, 2 early memories. Since I started this, I spent some time trying to push back into my memory. Now, this is 1938, so I would have been 3 months, I would have been 3 years, 2 months, something like that. It's a real memory. We had no opportunity in 1939 to go on a picnic because we moved up to Yorkshire's. So I'm certain this is the summer of 1938. I remember going on a picnic from my grandmother's house. It was a Thames River picnic, the route of the riverbank picnic, like you have in, The Wind in the Willows. And I remember Templeton. He was one of my father's old friends in the Admiralty. And he had a Riley 9, one of those very, very old cars, and he had to go back and bring the kettle because he'd forgotten to pack the kettle and the primus stove. So off he toddled. Templeton was in the Admiralty. He had the distinction of having served in World War I for 1 day. He arrived in France at 11 o'clock on the day of the armistice. He raced through the night to the front, and when they told him, he got there, they told him he was too late. He arrived just at the minute that they stopped firing. Wallace's wife was cleaning out the attic after he died, and she came across one of those long-handled grenades. The postman identified what it was. It was still armed. It seems that he'd been at the front for 30 minutes and he'd picked up a grenade and brought it back as a souvenir. The way I handle this routine is, if you've got any thoughts in your mouth, as I have at the moment, you try to get them out. I can't always take what I have got in my mouth. I can't always get it out. It's just like a piece of cherry, stuck in the mouth. It's absurd. I know it's absurd. But you always concentrate on the next thing you're going to do. You say, "What are we going to do next?" And sometimes the nurses say, "What do you mean by next?" I say, "Well, is there anything we do next?" It's like limbo. One day is the same as the next. It's the same in prison, Well, it would be the same in prison. Do you know Leonard Woolf, the author? He was posted to Sri Lanka in 1904. He was a very young man and into the colonial service, and he had a district to look after. And in this district, there happened to be a prison because it was his district, and he had to attend the executions. And he had to be there for any executions when they took place. He had nothing to do with the case at all, nothing. But he said it was the most harrowing experience. He said that that Well, he said that the trouble with it was that he had official duties to read out the last words of the prisoners and the death sentence. He had to inspect the equipment, and he didn't know how to inspect it. I mean, nobody had shown him what he should be looking for. And he was just a young man like yourself. I mean, he was, listening to the words and checking the executioner's equipment. And when he came back, he married Virginia Woolf, and she committed suicide. Are you married? The way people see me now, the way people regard me, is that I'm just a person lying in bed. I'm just another old bloke lying in bed. He can't use his hands. Well, so what? He's just an old bloke in bed. There's nothing special about him. They should take it from there, but there isn't very much they can take from there. So that's it for me. Goodbye, nurse.